Welcome back to the Knick-Knack Review. Today's episode, we're going to look at the movie Shang-Chi. Let's get started. So in the opening scenes of the movie, we got to actually see the early days of the Ten Rings. In the distance, you see the actual flag of the Ten Rings, the same flag you see in Iron Man 1. We also see how the Mandarin met Shang-Chi's mother, and when they meet, of course it's not very friendly, they actually start fighting, and when they had a nice little fighting scene, it kind of gave me some Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon vibes, actually. Now, the whole movie in general did not give me those vibes, but this particular fight, because there's quite a few of them in the movie, actually did, and it was very, very elegant, a little bit romantic, because they end up falling in love anyway. It was kind of like, hey, look, I'm this, let's see if we can spar. It felt more like a sparring match to me. The fighting and the music just blended really well in this scene, and it was just a really good opening fight scene to begin with. Now, the next fighting scene that they have is in a bus, and it's against this character called Razor Fist. And while it was a nice extended fight scene, it reminded me of the early days of Jackie Chan. Not to say he was capturing every movement and every mannerism that Jackie Chan would do, but it was just the fact that it was very smooth. It flowed really well. And of course, his speed and accuracy was on point. This dude proves in this scene that he can actually fight. And I will give a shout out to Andy Chang for doing the actual choreography of the film. It was absolutely brilliant. Each fight scene in the movie, it's not the whole movie. I mean, yes, he is known for fighting. He's pretty much the best martial artist in the Marvel Universe. But the fight scenes that they have, he was the choreographer for all of them, and he just did an amazing job. Awkwafina is basically the comedic relief, and she was a great addition to the movie. The first time I've ever seen her in anything was Jumanji 2, and while that may be a surprise to some, I loved her performance in that movie. She was hilarious. She wasn't an annoying sidekick in this movie like some others may have been in the past. She played a good role. She acted really well. She was actually funny, and she felt important. Now, later on in the movie, they end up in this underground cage fighting arena, and this is kind of what part of the trailer where you run into Emil Blonsky, aka Abomination. Now, I love seeing this Abomination. The reason I say this one is because we haven't seen him technically in the MCU since The Incredible Hulk. That was way back in 2008, so we got to finally see him again in all his glory and a more comic book accurate Abomination. Now, there was a lot of speculation that, he's fighting Wong, and I was like, we won't know until the movie. Well, turns out he was fighting Wong. Now, one little detail, a little surprise, spoiler warning, by the way, in case you don't know about this particular scene, I would go away and come back in a few minutes. We actually see Sean, who now goes by Shang-Chi at this point of the movie, return home, and he runs into Trevor from Iron Man 3. Same guy who played the Mandarin, his daddy, was just so happened to be captured by the real Mandarin, and he was supposed to be killed, but Trevor did some kind of act or whatever and actually made them laugh, so he became somewhat of a court jester for the entire people. I thought that was a nice little way to not only you have the real Mandarin, but actually acknowledge the old one and say, hey, look, you're not the real one, you were just an actor, but now we're going to make you pay for what you did, but also kind of keep you alive. I really like that little bit of detail. I will say this movie really felt like a fresh start. It felt very much like an MCU movie, but not exactly the same formula. Sure, we have a parent dying and a parent that is not really on great odds with the main character, and we have some comedy relief, and we have some CGI battles, but all in all, it did not feel like your typical MCU movie. And for being Phase 4, that's saying something. Because Phase 4, a lot of people I've heard mention that they get that Marvel fatigue, whereas I'm not getting it because I want to see a lot of these characters come to life. I want to see these characters interact with each other. I want to see these characters fight. I want to see these characters just come to life. So I'm not really sure that they're getting Marvel fatigue. As long as they can find a way to keep giving us what we want, switch it up every now and then to keep it fresh. Don't make it so different to where it's unrecognizable, but change just a little bit just to feel like we're actually getting something a little different. Now, the special effects in this movie are actually great. There are a lot of CGI moments, but I mean, that's to be expected with a comic book movie. CGI stuff you can't do with practical effects. I will have to say the acting was actually great. The comedy was actually great, but there was a few moments where I didn't feel like it was like amazing. It wasn't too much comedy like I would say Thor Ragnarok was. But there were a few moments to where I was like, yeah, that was funny, but the majority of the comedy in this movie was actually funny. And I must say there was a lot of downtime at one point to where I was kind of like, okay, what they going to do next? I wasn't waiting for the next fight, but it was just a lot of downtime, but I will say once it got back up, it was a big payoff.
That's what she said.
And yes, while this movie did make some references of the MCU, it is very much its own movie. All in all, I thought this was a great addition to the MCU. Shang-Chi is actually a really great movie. Great action, great comedy, great effects.
Papa John's.
So bravo Marvel for keeping us invested, keeping us interested in Phase 4, and I really hope they continue that in the rest of the phase. All in all, I would give this movie a rating of theater worthy. Well, that about does it for me, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this movie. Let me know about any Easter eggs or little hidden things I might have missed. And also, while you're there, don't forget to, well, you know what to do. As always, I am Clint the Knickknack, and I will see you on the next one.